What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at my BMW M8 GTE race on the Detroit Grand Prix. Kicking off our rolling start into the first lap of the race, we are in 4th place. We get brake checked and swerve to the right as we normally would in an iRacing lobby on a rolling start. The red car in front of us goes by the name of Federico, and the red, black, and white car to our left is Peter. Those are the two important cars for you to know for this race, as Peter goes into the back of us in the first corner as I brake a little bit too hard. The car directly in front of us is not important. They don't particularly do anything interesting for the entirety of the race. Coming down the first major straight of the race, everything seems neat and tidy as we admire our Just Send It livery, which we found on Trading Paint for a place called Simworks. No, it's not the Simworks that you're thinking of. It's a different one. As we follow the two guys in first and second, we did make it into third as we kind of pushed Peter out of the way in the first corner. Coming around this left-hander, we notice the person in first, that's Federico, gets a little bit out of shape, but he's still in first. In practice and qualifying, Federico was posting lap times that were about 5 seconds faster than mine and the person in second and third. We're coming down the back stretch here, really tricky corner going into the right hand, but you have to make sure not to get too out of shape on the straight as it does kink a little bit. I'm going to go around this left-hander, keeping everything in order. A little bit of unsettling happening to the cars in front of us, but again, we tend to tail them relatively easily. Into this right-hander, the unimportant black car gets out of shape a little bit as we catch up on this back straight here. We are going to get right up behind him, but there's no room for passing in this next section, so we settle in behind him again. We're going to come into this right corner, into the last dog leg here, picking up speed and going flat through this right-hander to finish our first lap. As we can see, Federico has put a fair bit of distance on us and is about to be out of sight, but we continue to tail the unimportant black car as best we can. Things are starting to spread out now, and so our confidence is rising and people are driving a little bit faster. We're going to come down this first stretch again, braking just before the 400 board and turning into the right. Everything should go according to plan, but we see that the unimportant black car has made a mistake, so we're going to attempt to go around him, but he does seem to get up to speed. We're going to follow him as best we can as we go around this right-hander into the next left towards the back straight, where nothing is going to happen. We'll follow the unimportant car through this right-hander here, go onto the back straight, and continue to follow him. As we get up to our top speed here, we go around the bend as best we can. Remember to brake before the 400 marker here, just as we get around the corner. And then turning to the right. Now we notice that our unimportant black car hits the wall. We see Peter come up on the right, but is not quite able to get past us. This puts us in second place. We know that we have Peter and the unimportant black car tailing us now, but we're not exactly sure how far back they are. As far as I can tell, they're right behind me as I nearly hit the wall on the left going into the back straight, losing time. So we finish our second lap here, going around this right-hander down the back straight. We can just see Federico in the distance, putting a fair bit of time. We believe that he's uncatchable, but that's not the case. We start lap 3, just trying our best to keep it on the track and keep the two behind us at bay. They don't seem to be fighting very much, but there is a bit of a gap. I don't exactly remember how big it is, but it's big enough. As we come down the front straight, we are gifted by the racing gods. You'll see what I mean in a second as we brake and go around the corner and see Federico going the wrong way. We're actually going to stop and see what happened from his perspective. As Federico starts his third lap, he goes down the straight, everything looking in order, drifts over to the left-hand side as he should, and you'll notice that under braking, the car tends to unsettle, right about here. As he takes the right-hander, the rear end gets loose, and he spins right around. I believe what he attempts to do now is to spin the tires so that he can get all the way around, but because of the traction control setting, he actually gets in the way of Peter, increasing the gap. The next couple laps are pretty boring, so we're going to engage our hyperdrive mode to get through the next laps. You'll notice that we race on and make very few mistakes, if any, and manage to keep the people behind us at bay. I'll take this time to remind you that if you're enjoying the video, please give us a like, subscribe, and follow me on Twitch, Mixer, DLive, and every other streaming service that you can think of. All of these links you'll find in the description below. And don't forget to hit that bell notification so you get notified every time one of these glorious videos gets posted to the interwebs. As we slow it right down, we'll notice that our comfort level at this point in the race is incredibly high until about right there, where Peter shows his nose, and we realize exactly how close he is behind us. To better illustrate the fight, we're going to do the rest of the race from Peter's perspective. This is the point where Peter tries to make a move on us. He takes a center line and then just shoves his nose into the apex as best he can, but we cover him off. He shouldn't have been able to make that overtake anyways, as he didn't do any overtaking on the straight. I spin the tires on the last corner a little bit when Peter manages to close the gap, but we manage to fight him off. I'm going to take a relatively defensive line through this next straight to try and prevent any moves that Peter might be thinking of doing. However, he decides not to make the move. I believe he's already decided where he wants to pass me, and that's on that corner where I go through relatively slowly. He's going to follow us for the next lap. As we come down this straight, he's about a half a second behind us, maybe 0.8. I brake a little bit earlier at this corner, and Peter closes the gap a little bit, but I try to go around this as best as I can, and I manage to keep him at bay. Peter decides to take a center line through this straight for reasons that I don't quite understand. I believe he's trying to just make sure that I know that he's behind me by filling my mirrors with the front of his car. Taking a weird braking line through here, he does manage to close the gap on me a little bit, but I get a better run out of the corner, increasing it again. He tails me fairly well through this section, around this left-hander and onto the back straight. As he closes the gap a little bit, we do manage to stay in front of him, but I'm not making any effort to defend at this point. I know at this point in the race that Peter is the faster car, and that if I continue to defend him, there's a possibility that he might run me off. So when he goes for the move in the next corner, which he does, exactly the same as the last lap, I decide to concede. He comes around me and takes first place, with absolutely no contact. This is the important part. I could have continued to defend, but I know in my mind that Peter's the faster car, specifically through that corner. So I decide to let him by and preserve second place instead of causing a wreck and potentially retiring from the race. This is the start of the last lap. We don't manage to get by Peter again, but we do manage to keep up with him. The last lap is relatively boring, but we tail him the best we can, just like we do everything else, the best we can. The idea that Peter's the faster driver gets solidified as we come down the back straight into the weird corner where he passed me the first time, and he increases the gap by another 0.5 of a second or so. We throw on the hyperdrive again just to get us across the finish line all the way to the end of the race, where we ended the session with a celebratory butt touch. If you guys enjoyed this video, please hit the follow and subscribe button, and we'll see you all next time.